everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin, or A Hobbit's Reading List, and today we are going to talk about the books that I received at Christmas. There is one book that technically I didn't receive it like on Christmas or Christmas Eve. It was my last book in my advent calendar that my friend Stephanie made for me, but it was in my suitcase with all the other books, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it too. In total, I received 18 books? 19? 18? Around there. I thought it was 18, but I think I have 19 here, so I'm not sure what happened. But I'm just going to go into them a little bit. Most of them I have not read. There are a couple where I wanted the physical copies, and so I had those on my wish list, and so my family got them for me. But most of them I've not read or completed. So, and I guess Reese is going to help me talk about these books because I'm sitting on the floor and he's very excited. And this is his butt. So, are you gonna help me? Yeah. Okay. So and this is in this is in no order at all. It's just the order I took the books out of the suitcase. So the first book is Hamon Ry by Charles Bukowski. And I went through a period in, let's say like my early to mid 20s, where I got really into the beats, which Bukowski did not necessarily assign himself that label, but a lot of people do consider him part of the beat generation. And so I do have quite a few Bukowski books, and I've read, let's say, half of the ones I have. So this is another one that I have, and I will read at some point. So Hamon Ry is widely considered one of his best novels, and it's semi like autobiographical. I guess it would be considered a Roman clef, where Bukowski's alter ego goes through a lot of the things that he did, but it's essentially a coming-of-age story taking place in the Great Depression, and sort of what Bukowski, or as the main character of the novel, was it Henry Chinaski, went through. And so I'm expecting to be written pretty dryly, pretty crudely, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but that is his writing style. So I think it'll be interesting. I also got Architecture Styles, a visual guide by Fletcher and Polley. I pretty much got this because I do have like a really, I wouldn't say intense, but like I really appreciate architecture. I appreciate the history of architecture. And so I wanted to just have a book that will help me sort of understand, like, when I'm looking at a building, what type of building it is. Like, obviously I can be like, oh, that's a museum, or oh, that's a residential place, but like the actual differences between building styles and where they came from. So this goes a little bit more into like the history of just different aspects of architecture. And so I just really wanted something to, I'm really trying to lean more into my actual interests. Like, I feel like in my 20s, I feel like I just sort of did the things I was supposed to do, or what I felt like I was supposed to do. And I've decided that my 30s, F that. 30s is about me and what I like and what I'm into. So, yeah. I don't really have... This is gonna be troublesome. I can't really do anything about it. I'm in the front room, and so then there's no doors, except that one, but I'm not sending him outside. So I'll just have to deal with a cat tail in my face the entire time. He really likes the books, though. He's rubbing all against them. Speaking of things that I'm into, I have Please Kill Me, which is a history of the punk movement by was it Legs McNeil and Gillian McCain. It's the uncensored oral history of punk. I went through, I wouldn't say like a punk phase. I went through an emo phase if we're slapping a label on it. But I did really appreciate punk music. I still like a lot of punk music. I just wouldn't say I'm like as into it now. But I would say that that culture, especially at its height, I'm really interested in the history of it, and so I wanted a book on it. And this has also been on my wish list for like years, so I'm really glad that I finally got it. More about my interests. I have Vengeance is Mine by Purdy. What's her? Brandy Purdy. This is a nonfiction about Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, who were two wives of Henry VIII. They were also distant cousins, and they were both the only queens to be, of Henry VIII's, to be beheaded. And so this is really interesting because it is about both those queens, but it's also about the woman who betrayed both of them, Lady Rochford, or Rochford. I'm pretty sure it's Rochford, who was actually married to Anne Boleyn's brother. And she stayed in the court after Anne and George Boleyn were executed, and actually was a lady in waiting with Catherine, and helped arrange Catherine to have a lover who was more satisfying, and also betrayed Catherine. So this is essentially, so it's not nonfiction, but it is written from Lady Rochford's point of view while she's in the Tower. And I've had this book on my wish list for years, and again, that's gonna be a theme. But I'm really excited to read this. I have discovered in the past couple years that I really like Catherine Howard. For a really long time, I was just all about Anne Boleyn. And I was like, oh, well, I actually really like Catherine too. Apparently I like the queens that have been beheaded. So, yeah, I'm excited to read this one. I think this is fair play because I got my dad a book that was helpful, but also he used the word daunting, but it's probably like could be considered like homework. He got me one too. He got me The Fellowship of the Ring in Yiddish. So I will have to translate this. It means I will also have to resume my Duolingo Yiddish, which I did start again this morning. But it is just so it's gonna be so much to translate. This is gonna take me forever. But I'm actually really excited. I'm really excited to see like the differences that come out in my translation. So yeah, I think it'll be really fun. I think this will be a really good tool to help me really learn the language, because right now I'm just doing it on Duolingo, but I don't have anyone or anything to practice with. So yeah. On Christmas Eve, we have Christmas Eve stockings where you get pajamas, a mug, and a Christmas book. So Dad got me a Hanukkah book, which is 8 Nights in December by Keira Andrews. And it is about this guy who is an orphan, and he goes home with his roommate that he finds really annoying, but he doesn't have anywhere else to go. And so he goes home with his roommate, and he meets his roommate's brother, and they just like have sparks flying, and they end up spending, Hanukkah together. They probably end up spending longer than that, but they meet over Hanukkah. They have meetings over Hanukkah. It's smutty. It is smutty. I'm not ready yet. I'm probably going to save it for next year, but I'm looking forward to it. I also got Circe by Madeline Miller. I will just say, all of these books are from my dad, except for the one from Stephanie. I'll just say that. Just get that out of the way. Circe is a retelling of Circe, who was, I believe she's the witch on the island that turns all the men into animals when Odysseus comes by during the Odyssey. So it's from her perspective. It's background information. What's a Madeline Miller's background story to sort of just give more substance to Circe. I have read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and I really loved it. I know that this is not going to be the same. As far as I know, it's not queer, which is a bummer. But I really liked her writing style, and so, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to all of them. I guess I don't need to say that. Like, I didn't get a book that I'm like, oh, no, don't like that. Like, I'm looking forward to all of them. People Love Dead Jews by Dara Horn. So this is essentially a collection of essays, actually, about the dehumanization that comes with looking at Jewish history, especially about the Holocaust. You know, World War II and the Holocaust is a very popular topic in writing, in novels and fiction. And in paying so much attention to Jewish history, specifically the Holocaust, the struggles of actual living Jewish people is dehumanized. And even looking at things like the Holocaust, people tend to look at it as like, that is a thing that happened and that was awful, but that would never happen again, and sort of use it as an argument of why anti-Semitism isn't a thing anymore, when it very, very, very much is. So I wanted to get this book because I've seen a lot of my friends online talking about it, saying how important it is, and I hadn't read it yet. So this will be fun. Sarcasm. I also got Heartstopper Volume 5. I have already read Heartstopper. I'm caught up on the webcomic, but I have the other 4 volumes, and I like having it in physical copy because sometimes reading it on Webtoon is difficult. So yeah, I did add this to my TBR, so I will reread it. So looking forward to that. I also got Book 3, Sandman. I have the first 2 volumes. I also have essentially the first 2 volumes in a different graphic novel form, but I like these bigger ones. And it's very, you know, it's a Sandman. For anyone who doesn't know, Sandman is about Dream of the Endless, who is the personification of the collective unconscious. And he has 6 siblings who all represents different aspects of humanity. They all also have names that start with D's, and he gets pretty much captured for about 100 years, and it's all about him sort of growing. like looking back at who he was before he was captured, be like, oh, maybe I could have done better. He doesn't become perfect. I know that. But I really enjoy the comics. It's been a really long time since I've read them. I enjoyed the show. So, yeah, I will just continue getting more and more volumes and eventually reread them. I also got this very pretty copy of the Silmarillion by JRR Tolkien. This is gorgeous. It's in English, which I appreciate, but this comes with a map, which I'm not going to open, but it also has sprayed edges, and yeah, and it has its own bookmark, and it has pictures. It also has illustrations by Tolkien himself, and yeah, I've read most of Silmarillion. I've not read it all the way through. And I probably won't read this exact copy because it looks so nice. I don't want to break the spine or anything. But it's on my list. I also, going back to my emo days that I mentioned, Emily the Strange. Emily the Strange was my role model during my emo days. Honestly, it's just a nice little reminder of being a teenager. And I do appreciate that the pages are mostly black with red, which my dad feels made it hard to read but that's fair. But yeah, I honestly, it's been so long since I've read anything about Emily the Strange. Don't remember if there's a plot, but I'll let you know when I read it. Going back to Yiddish, The Dybbuk it's a play about a Dybbuk, which is a, I guess, demon. Demon, ghost, spirit, let's say spirit. A Dybbuk is a spirit in Jewish folklore that can possess people, I believe. This particular play was referenced in an article I read for one of my classes, and it sounded really interesting, and so I wanted to get the actual play. It does have it in Yiddish, but it's also translated. But I think this would also be good practice for learning Yiddish. So, yeah. And then Stephanie got me Fox Hunt by Mohammed al-Samawi. This is a man from Yemen who was raised Muslim, but he converted to Christianity. And I believe he was he stayed in Yemen. He was working with different interfaith groups of Christians, Jews, and Muslims to bridge peace between all three. And he started receiving threats, and he was essentially trapped in Yemen. And so this story is about the friends and contacts that he had through these interfaith groups that worked to get him out and get him to safety. I remember a friend talking about this book a year ago, and that's why I added it to my wish list. I think they liked it. I assume that if they didn't, I wouldn't have added it to my wish list. So this will be really interesting to read. I have a decent amount of nonfiction this year. Back to the books that my dad got me. I have Teacher of the Year by M.A. Wardell. This is about a teacher at a school and the father of one of the teacher's children and their relationship that develops. I've been told it's very cute. I've been told it's spicy. And why are you wet? Reese's chest is wet, and I don't understand where that came from. I also have the sequel to this already, so I've really been wanting to read this. So many people that I follow on Instagram love this book, so definitely gonna try to get to this one soon. And then I also have Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This sounds really interesting. It's inspired by Mexican folklore, where this girl ends up going into the underworld after freeing an imprisoned god. I don't remember why I added this to my wish list. I know it was on there. I don't remember. I have to assume it was from BookTube or something. But I cannot remember who talked about it. All I know is it probably sounded interesting to me at the time, and so I added it to my wish list. Immediately forgot everything else about it. And now I have a fun new book to explore. I wish you could see how Reese is sitting in my lap right now. It's so funny. It's not sitting. He's one paw bent. The other three are holding him up. I don't know why he's sitting like this. He does this a lot. So this is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novak. I had actually picked this book for the next book to read for my Temple's book club, so I'm really glad that I got a copy of it for Christmas. It is a retelling of, what's his name? Is it Rumpelstiltskin? I believe. I want to say it is, yeah. I'm not seeing Rumpelstiltskin's name anywhere. But it is a retelling, and there's Jewish tones to it, I believe. So, but I've had a lot of people recommend this to me when they hear that I run a Jewish book club. So this will be really interesting. Okay, almost done. I have Just Enough Jeeves by P.G. Wodehouse. This is a collection of, is it more short stories or are they novels? 2 novels and a set of short stories about Jeeves and Wooster. So for anyone who doesn't know, I do a podcast with my dad about the works of P.G. Wodehouse. He has read most of them. I've only read the ones that we read for the podcast, and so Dad has been building up my Wodehouse collection so that I have the books when we get to them. So it's about Jeeves and Wooster, and it's probably really funny. That's what I got to tell you. And then I also have The Holy Barbarians by Lawrence Lipton. And I mentioned earlier about how I went through a phase where I really read the Beats and liked the Beat generation a lot. And this is a history of the Beat generation and the predominant authors within that group. So there you go. Those are all the books that I got for Christmas. I got a lot, which honestly, I'm thrilled. I love getting books for anything. I don't need a particular reason, but I love getting books so much, and now my TBR is at 206 books. So let's see. I knocked down my Diet Coke. I guess let's see how much of that I can read in the next year. But knowing me, I will still add more books to my TBR, and so I probably won't see that much of a difference. But please leave a comment and let me know if you have read any of these books, if you received any of these books for Christmas, which would be really interesting. And like the video, subscribe, click the notification bell, and I hope you had a wonderful December in whatever way you wanted to experience that month. And he's shedding all over me. I was gonna go to Target after this. I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm covered in fur. Anyway, I forget what I was saying. I appreciate you all so much, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.